Okay, Dreamer Plays.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be looking at Kyle's review and we will be reviewing him in all three aspects of PvP, farming as well as Castle Rush. He is really such a great unit. So this is going to be a quick snapshot of where you can use him. Definitely in Adventure and Nightmare Adventure. As you know, you may have seen some clips of him dominating in very difficult stages just alone with all his boom effects and his AoEs. He is super strong in Adventure and definitely for farming as well. We will see that later. Also in PvP, I definitely foresee him being great in PvP, being one of the meta units because he is just very dominant in terms of damage, and in Total War as well, he can form maybe a second physical team if you like, or maybe join forces with Teo. And he's not that great in Advent Expedition because in Advent Expedition they actually nerf 4-man AoE damage, so unfortunately you cannot be using Carl there. He's definitely not a raid unit, although you can use him for raid because he does damage based on the max HP of the enemies, so players have indeed used him in Destroyer Gaze, but it is a very long process, so I definitely don't recommend that. In Castle Rush, however, he is extremely powerful and you will see that later. I've actually recorded a showcase comparing Taka and Carl, so you guys will have a very clear understanding of that. And then we also have Infinite Tower and Tower of Trials. I actually did Infinite Tower on my live stream yesterday and he is very powerful there along with Teo. Both of them with very strong AoE skills can help you clear the floors very easily even on auto mode. Okay, so you don't really even have to manually play Infinite Tower. So let's go through his skills very quickly. For his passive, he does grant himself crit rate boost, which is very important seeing that he is a damage dealer. Having this innate crit rate boost will actually relieve the stress of you getting a very high crit rate for him. He also sets his eye on the enemy with the highest attack, so he deals more damage to them. Usually this will be the backline unit or sometimes Yonhee, because Yonhee does give herself a magic attack increase. And he also has a boom effect where he will do AoE splash damage every 2 attacks that he uses. This attacks can be skills, can be basic attacks, it doesn't matter. As long as he moves twice, he will be casting this boom effect on the enemies. And this is actually damage based on the enemy's max HP, which is about 23%. So if you think about it, it's more than 1/5 of the enemy's HP. So in about 5 hits, you can, 5 of these boom damages, you can already kill the enemy even without using his skills. Next, his skill 2, he has 100% chance to do buff removal, which is very useful in Castle Rush. Okay, bear that in mind. You also have piercing damage, which is good against immunity units, and then also does more damage to those with the eye. For his skill 1, he is able to do more damage proportional to the target's lost HP, and he also does damage based on the target's max HP. So this is probably a stronger skill if you ask me. I've seen him do more damage with this skill compared to the skill 2. For his basic attack, he doesn't really do much, but he does have a chance to do buff removal, which I have not seen happen. So this is definitely going to be an effect hit rate reliant statistic over here. He does do more damage when he uses 2 basic attacks as well. So for his gears at T0, I'll show you guys T6 later. For T0, I've actually on the Assassin set with 1 crit damage piece and 1 crit rate piece. You just need about the high 70 crit rate for him because he does give himself some crit rate as well. I think it's about 27%. So you do need about 3% around there to hit 100% crit rate. So as you can see, mine has 71%. Also another thing is you want to give him very high speed so that he is able to go first, and then when you kill his skill first, he will already be doing 2 attacks right from the start and then proc his boom effect. So that's going to be very important. If you do have an immortality ring or revive ring, I think it will be very useful for him as well because he is quite a glass cannon, but otherwise any damage oriented ring will also be good. This is gonna be a T0 showcase for PvP, then I'll transit to the T6 showcase. All different teams to give you a better idea of what you can use him with. Of course he's gonna shine in the physical team, but here I'm using Eileen here for physical attack increase and Jury here for extra follow-up attacks, basically to nuke Kaguras even easier, and also to cast defense down here. But as you can see, T0 Cow is not really a great unit to be used in PvP because As you can see, if once Yonhee uses 3 hits and removes his damage nullification or any other skill that removes hits or has multi-hits, his damage nullification goes down and he will be killed instantly within the next hit. So if you don't have a revive or immortal ring on him, he won't come back, and that's basically the end of his run. So not recommended. If you really want, you can go for T2, which is definitely better, because at T2 he gains 3 more nullifications at when he hits 70% HP, and I think it's designed such that you are really gonna need that for sure. Over here I'm using another form of physical team with Platine, because Platine is just pretty much the best unit in the game for PvP. Here I'm using Amelia as well, so usually I cast a concussion to actually stop the enemies from doing anything, and because this team focuses on so many multi-hits, concussion actually can remain on the units for a very long time. Of course, enemy Kagura here cleanses, so that's not very good as well, but it's fine. Okay, it's fine. Unfortunately, I also got cucked by the Soul Death. But either way, this is also a possible team you can run. Okay, with higher Transcendence level on Colt, he will definitely survive better. And I've tried this team as well in my live stream, so if you want an extended showcase, you can go take a look from the live stream as well. But basically, the idea here is to do as much extra damage with Colt's boom effect and Platine's fixed damage when he's hit. So this is the comp I tried when he is T6, okay, and Colt here is fresh. Okay, I actually got 3 copies from the stream yesterday for no reason. I'm actually using her on a crit set, but she shouldn't be on the crit set. She can go with block with effect hit main stats or orchestrator set, which increases her effect hit rate. But maybe you don't need that high of an effect hit rate on her, because her passive does actually boost effect hit rate for your entire team. Same here for Kagura, she definitely doesn't need an extra effect hit rate. Is too high at the moment with Colt around, so you can actually adjust effect hit rate on one of the weapons to maybe attack percent instead, because Kagura's heals scales off her attack percent. For my Amelia here, she's also on effect hit rate, and coupled with Colt, she basically has 100% effect hit rate, so we'll see how that goes. Basically, this idea of this team is to land debuffs, and also with Colt doing his boom effect. And also because he's T6 now, he's definitely able to handle damage taking much better with the 3 extra nullifications, as well as do more damage on the enemies with higher attack. I'm actually still using the Assassin set, as some of you may think it's not necessary. I definitely agree. Okay, you can use the Avenger set for sure, because the Avenger set gives you damage dealt increase, and that will be way useful for Colt, okay, compared to the Assassin set. But the reason I'm using the Assassin set is because I don't have the right pieces for the Avenger set, so just keep that in mind. It is a placeholder. Again, I start off with the concussion. As you can see, the concussion immediately immobilizes 3 of their units. Okay, so that's very good, and then I'll proceed to hit very hard with Colt. Kyle's AoE, in terms of whether to use his top skill first or bottom skill first, well, to me it felt a little comparable, because after that I did try using the bottom skill first. It still does a lot of damage, and then I wanted to try to use the buff removal a little later, but I mean, either way, both of my Kyle's skills didn't manage to proc the enemy's immortality fast enough, so it doesn't really matter. So I've actually seen quite decent success with this team. Okay, the win rate is decent. I'm not too sure if Kyle's immortality here really does much, because you know, after he uses his 2 skills, his cooldown is actually very long, so there's a chance that he will not use his skill again later on in the match. So here you can see that the enemy is gonna use Yonhee's AoE. This will definitely remove my Kyle's nullifications. In fact, I think that there's still 2 nullifications. So yeah, here he kind of gets a shield, which is good. I think it's from Amelia. I can't be sure. And then when he hits 70% again, he gets 3 more nullifications. So this team is actually pretty tight and good for his survivability. And Colt is definitely a very strong team member here. Definitely no regrets building her overnight. She is able to withstand a lot of debuffs and damage at the start of the battle, and then later on land her bomb detonation, which also does buff duration reduction and has a chance to paralyze the enemies. Okay, next up we're gonna look at farming. So I unfortunately don't have very high Nightmare Adventure stages to farm with, so I'm gonna just show you guys the best stage that I can farm with. Definitely not 3-1, I've actually made it to 4-1, but just an introduction, Cow is very strong for adventure farming because, you know, as you can see here, my Teo actually is very slow. He doesn't have a lot of damage and I'm relying on his revive to actually kill off the first wave. But for Kyle, you will see that his extra boom damage being based off the enemy's max HP is actually extremely useful, and if you can proc this at least twice coupled with 2 skills, you shouldn't have much issue dealing with the enemy's HP at all, because it will be probably down to about 50%, and with 2 skills, 2 hard hitting skills and decent gear, you should be able to clear the 50% enemy HP without much issue. Okay, so I'm moving on to Adventure 4-1. And in this trial, I'm actually gonna use Klahan and Kyle instead of Teo. Klahan, I actually made some tweaks, okay, so this is not the best showcase for Klahan, to be honest. He needs some crit rate, unfortunately. He definitely needs very high crit rate, and I kind of nerfed his crit rate a bit here to give him more crit damage so that he's able to farm better. But either way, doesn't matter. For Kyle here, as you can see, even at T0 and just crit gear, he's able to handle his own ground. I think he is a little faster than Teo, my Teo especially, so definitely I would prefer him to be used compared to Teo. Yeah, and as you can see, you don't even need Teo to farm now if you do have Klahan built and you have Kyle. So with Kyle, usually I use his top skill first, followed by the bottom skill, because the bottom skill does more damage proportional to enemies' lost HP, so you definitely want to land some damage first before you use the bottom skill. But I think the main important thing is his boom effect after all, because no matter what, it matters what the enemy's HP is. And as you progress in your adventure, the enemies will have progressively more and more HP, so Kyle doesn't really care about that because his damage is going to scale off that, right? So he's actually very, very good as you move higher up and you farm higher up in Nightmare Adventure. So as you can see, he's taking damage, but if you do have him T2, he's able to get a nullification for another 3 hits, which kind of secures his survivability even better. So this is the run at T6. As you can see, I'm using a crit pad here for Klahan now to really boost his damage to the maximum potential, because otherwise if he doesn't land the crits, then my run is going to be very slow. So as you can see, now with the crit pad for Klahan, my runs are way shorter. And then with Kyle at T6, he is doing a lot more damage. Some of you may be thinking, how come there is an increase in the boom effect? As you can see here, he is doing about 9,000 boom effect damage, but if you look at the T0 run previously, he was doing about 8,000, because even though the max HP damage scales off the enemy's HP, there's actually a cap to it based on his physical attack stats. So with higher physical attack, you're essentially pushing up that upper limit to this particular boom effect damage. So transcendence wise, it is definitely beneficial for Kyle because this allows him to have a higher upper threshold for the boom damage and lets you deal more damage to the enemies overall. I mean, 1000 more damage may not sound that significant, but if you stack it up, it is actually very strong. So I hope that explains his gimmick a little better. Here we are going on to Castle Rush. I recorded this on my Korea account and I'm going to just fast forward through for Taka because this is the score I got for my Taka. My Taka in Korea server is T4, okay, and I'm going to try using a T0 cow instead, using the exact same gear that I use on my Taka, so there's no difference here. And in this case, both my Kyles and Takas are all skill enhanced to have a better comparison. Sorry, the recording is a bit laggy because this recording was done on another PC. Okay, but as you can see, my Kyle, actually, in total, I use his skills 4 times on Dylan's in total. So I'm setting up right now, and then later on you guys will see the amount of damage he can do. This is a T0 Kyle with Avenger set. He has about 90+% crit rate, okay, even with the Avenger set, because this particular gear set does give him about 70%. As you can see, his boom damage does about 6,000, and his overall skill damage is also very high. 7,000 in fact. So this is the last, okay, I'll taunt again, and then this will be the last skill that you see I use in this entire run. Not too sure if I'm able to sneak in an extra skill. If my Jin was stronger, then perhaps I could, because Jin will be able to take care of the first two mobs and I don't have to rely on Kyle, and then maybe I could have used an extra skill for Kyle instead. But as you can see, you know, my Kyle's damage can do up to almost 1 million versus a T4 Taka. So it's very clear that if you give him extra transcendence and you do enhance his skills, his overall damage is definitely going to be better than Taka. So I hope this comparison lets you see how strong Kyle can be in PvE and not just PvP. And do let me know in the comments if you guys feel that a combined review for PvP and PvE is okay, or you guys prefer it to be separate. Okay, let me know in the comments. Hope this video helped, and if it did, do give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much, and see you!